Well, hello, everybody. This is Titus with Glow Growth and Development. We have Laarni here, and she's joining us today. I met her, several months back. And anyway, it's a pleasure to have you back on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So my thought, or a thought that I would like to discuss or talk about today, and I had the opportunity to go camping this weekend, and there was a creek, I'll call it a creek, that was running by the campsite. And so I put my bathing suit on, I put my flip-flops on. It was only maybe 10 inches deep, maybe a foot deep. It wasn't even really that deep. But what I did was I was walking down the creek, just kind of playing. And then I saw where the water was kind of got diverged or whatever. And so I started moving these rocks. And in moving the rocks, I changed the course of the water. And in changing the course of the water, then now it was running up against leaves and branches and twigs, and it was pushing it further downstream. And so it occurred to me, or it dawned on me, the importance of flow state. Right here, I was creating something in this creek. I was manipulating how the water was moving. I was giving an opportunity for that water to flow and to flush some of the debris, we'll call it, downriver. And so the importance of the flow state is the main topic. And then the second part of that is stagnation, right? Because when that water was able to pool up in a little area, the leaves, the debris, and we were later that, a couple minutes later, I was by the fire or whatever, and there's mosquitoes. And my buddy's like, man, these mosquitoes, you wouldn't think they'd be around running water. And I said, well, there's stagnant water there too. And he's like, oh yeah, there is. And so the importance of flow state, not only flow in our life, but flow to get rid of the debris and flow to keep the bugs or the pests or the mosquitoes away.
I'm having a few different thoughts about this.
Love to hear them all.
And let me touch on the stagnant water first. I was in the stagnant water way back in the day. And the mosquitoes were in my water. And those mosquitoes were the negative thoughts in my mind. And I was in that stagnant water with these mosquitoes that would breed that negative thought and pass it on to other people and bite other people. I specifically remember having a time in my life where I was so depressed and I was so unhappy with who I was that I lashed out to my assistant. And that was that stagnant feeling that I had because I felt lost. I didn't feel like I was going anywhere. I didn't feel like I had any stepping stones to move to flow out of that stagnant water. I felt stuck. And that stagnant feeling, like it would breed those negative thoughts because I felt like I was drowning in that water. And to shift it into a flow, I had to remove myself from that stagnant water. And unfortunately, there was a situation that the rocks were moved for me at the moment. And to me, those rocks that were damming me from moving forward, I needed therapy. I needed to have therapy to move those rocks. And those rocks weren't going to be moved by somebody else. I had to move them. I had to do it. I had to make sure I took the time to kick that rock. And even if it was a small stream of water, a little small flow, it was movement. It was a movement forward. And as the years go by, those rocks start to get pushed aside because the flow of the water was getting stronger. And now as I'm like, I guess I'm that creek that you were talking about right now, where I'm at that creek. And now as I was moving one direction, now I have all these other directions. Where am I going to put my rock? You know, it is now my decision to move one way, left, right, whatever. And it is my decision to put that rock where I have to get downriver or to get to the other stagnant water or whatever. You know, water will flow where it you know, it has no really destination to me. It's continuously flowing. But what direction is it going to go? And now in my career as someone who is trying to empower or who is empowering people, it is my choice to direct the water and move another rock for somebody else, or ask them, hey, you know what you're asking me the same question about being stagnant, where, you have to move your rock. So
yeah. And when I was in the creek, I was moving rocks and manipulating where it was at to change the course of the water. And just like you, I've got all these different little branches coming out. Where do I want to put my rock now? Or the question is, what do I want to create now? So let me put this rock here so I can create that.
Yes. And do I move my rock here, make this stream stronger and let that go? And then I go to my next stream and then let that go. So it's like that tidal wave. I love how we were talking about like all this water stuff. It's like this tidal wave of choices where we have to decide what are we going to build? What are we creating? What is our vision? So, even though the vision may not be 100% fully complete, it started and it's growing. Okay, so here's growing. It's such a decision-making moment for people.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. When we can discover for ourselves the power and ability that we have within us to create what we want.
Yes. Yeah. And who are you taking with you? Are you taking the debris? Are you keeping a rock?
I was talking to some fellow campers next door, and I said, man, the fish downstream love me, because as you turn over these rocks, all this nutrients and all this the micro stuff is floating downriver, and those fish love that stuff. And I turned over one rock and I found a little worm in there. I picked it up and I throw it downstream. Right?
And you're helping the little fish grow.
Yeah.
By feeding them the nutrients. So it's exactly like how your direction of a vision is. It's like you keep feeding it the good stuff and it'll grow.
Yeah. So we sat in this huge valley. I can't even imagine how we were maybe 3,000 feet down. I couldn't even guess. We were in this huge valley on the Continental Divide. And so the next thought was, or another thought I had, a pebble on top of the mountain can direct the flow of a creek. You know how like you have that little drip of water or whatever? And if you're to put a little pebble there, that water is going to move around that pebble. And so as I'm sitting downriver, right, where the water started out of the mountain, I'm thinking, okay, up at the top there's a rock or something that pushed the water this way and created this creek down this way. If that rock would have been moved 5 feet, 2 feet, whatever, couple inches, one direction or the other, this valley would not look the same.
Yes. And that pebble, depending on the size, can also change the direction of the direction of the flow. That pebble can be an obstacle that you have to get over. And sometimes those pebbles are either too big to go through that you have to go around it. And maybe to the point when you have the strength to surround a big pebble, a big rock to move it, then you move it. But just at that time, you have to go around it because you don't have the big river flow just yet. Maybe from another mountain that somebody is helping direct the water, you come together and you make a big river and you can push that rock away or that
Synergy.
pebble. Yes. So surround yourself with the people who can move rocks with you.
I love it. I love it. Yes, this is, just a couple of thoughts that I'm having out in the woods and thinking about the creek and the pebble and nature. And, but it's such an analogy for our lives because we can live that way if we choose, or we can get stuck on that rock or get stuck on that pebble and still be back there on our journey, wherever our journey has brought us or taken us to. We could be walking around that, for a long time.
Right.
So we learned that lesson.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I went through that this morning. I was going through wanting to quit sharing my message, wanting to quit all this hard work. And why isn't it this? And I was dwelling, and it's like, that was my rock this morning. It was dwelling of the feeling of failure, the fearing of maybe I'm not doing this and maybe I'm not supposed to be doing this. But then I think about, but we were talking offline about the little girl who I impacted. And I think about that and I'm just like, one more day, I'm here for another day. That's a gift in itself. Let me make this a good day. And then tomorrow I'll reevaluate, but it'll be the same. I'm here for another day to help another person. Okay, another day. So I can't, the idea of quitting was that pebble for me today. And
Yeah.
I'm so glad I've gone around it. I haven't pushed it yet, but I've gone around it and I've gone to the other side.
Yeah. I was thinking about comparison recently. And so some of the boys in my family are my brothers. So we have a messenger chat and my dad is included in it. So there's 4 of us in this chat. And the word comparison came up in my mind today. And when we start comparing ourselves, when we start comparing where we're at or comparing this and this, right? I don't know if there's much that is healthy that comes out of that. I mean, I guess granted, comparison's important. Like when you're doing your balance sheet, like, okay, this month is better than last month on the balance sheet. We got to compare last numbers to this number. So there's a room in life for comparison, but where is it unhealthy to have that comparison, and where should we have it?
So when we're comparing, it's just a quick look back. Like I think of it as a quick look back. Okay. Like we were talking about your balance sheet. Okay, cool. That was what I had last year, this quarter. It shows progress. So comparison can show progress. But comparison can be the anchor that prevents you from progress as well. Like if you think about that balance sheet, how are you thinking about the progress? Are you, oh my God, I'm not making enough money. It can be such a double-edged sword because comparison quickly looked at can be a driver. Okay, I need to make it. It is August 16th. Last August 16th, I was making $20. This year, I need to make $30. Boom. Okay, what do I need to do? Or, man, I'm not making the same thing as I was last. Oh man, I don't know if I could do this. I just don't know. And that's the confusion about comparison. How are you going to look at it? Are you going to use it as a driver, or are you going to use it as something, as an anchor that prevents you from moving forward? And there's always that in the back of your mind. Everybody compares, everybody, ourselves to that person. Oh, I can't do this, but you can. And it's, to me, comparison is a quick check. Let me see what it was. Okay, now I got to move forward. I can't dwell on what was going on previously. And I mean, 10 seconds ago, we were one person, and now 10 seconds forward, we're a different person. So is that comparing? Are we comparing what we were 10 seconds ago? I mean, we'll never get back to what we were 10 seconds ago. So I just think like comparison is, you can use it as a tool, but use it in the correct way.
Yeah. Yeah. I just wrote today in my notes, attitude, right? It's the attitude behind the comparison. What's our attitude, right?
Yes.
Or you can, let me see here what the word was that I used. So I said, it's not about me, it's because of me, the attitude. It's not about me, right? Say something happens, this event isn't about me, but it's because of me. What's the attitude? Where's your attitude? And how is it lined up?
Yes. It's almost like that same saying, like, things may happen to you, but maybe it's for you.
Attitude.
Yeah.
Boom. Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
And it's really like, your attitude is really your choice. Again, you can have the attitude of being upset, or you can have the attitude of being grateful. And so I see so many different things when it comes to attitude with that. And like me as a power lifter, our mindset has to be really right before we start training. And my coach is just like, you have this potential to lift that. You have to get yourself out of your mind thinking that, oh my God, it's heavy. Just, it's really the attitude. And
Pre-workout.
It's like, it's like that it's like my personal affirmation when I train or when I compete is, the weight is air. The weight is air. Even though I can get bogged down with like, oh my God, this is going to be so heavy. But then it goes back to the trust. You have to trust in yourself. If you trust your attitude, you have to trust your training, you have to trust your mind, and be 100% trusting in who you are. And begins with attitude.
What percentage would you say is mindset, and what percentage would you say is physical ability?
Oh gosh. I want to say it's 80-20, 80-20, going 80% towards my mind and 20% physical. Because your body adapts a lot better than your mind does, because your mind will just, that those chatters in your mind will talk your hands, talk your body into doing something or not doing something. So that when I think of mindset, when it comes to comparing it to physical, or like kind of, what's dependent on what, I think, my mind is way stronger than my body sometimes.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. There's all kinds of stories about, the mom that lifts the car off the baby or whatever it is. There's all kinds of things, that talks about mindset. And so, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Woo! Crazy talk.
Yeah. It's awesome to think that there are so many mind tricks that your mind can, like today, I'm like, I'm going to quit doing my entrepreneur stuff because it's hard. It's a lot of work. I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm going to be vulnerable if I ask for help. And, I had to get over a lot of that before I started like building my business and talking with other people, because I had to get over my own personal obstacles. And
You
it
know,
was just my mind.
when sometimes there's, when I'm dealing with a new client, I'll start with their physical activity, because the physical, like you said earlier, there's all kinds of this junk up here. Getting control of the body, and the body just listening to the mind. And Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about, you can actually be in a state of being where the body's in control of the mind. So not only do you have to get it lined up right, where the body follows the mind as opposed to the mind controlling the body. Let's get that properly aligned. And now with that mind, let's start controlling the body and saying, hey, listen, I'm in charge.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's why people should affirm their selves. They should tell themselves, because to me, like, I believe that if you're whispering it, or if you're just thinking it, it doesn't have enough oomph. Yeah. So I say things out loud. So before I train, before I know what the weight's going to be, I'm like, come on, Laarni, let's go. You got this. Or I try not to make an angry face when I lift, because the energy then goes to my face instead of what I'm supposed to lift. I know, it's crazy. It's just crazy. Like I used to make this, I look back at some of the photos of me lifting, and it's just like, I am like, we call it the kabuki face, and this face. And I started controlling my face, and it really did help, because like my mind was very relaxed, and it made me trust myself a lot more. And I knew my potential, and that energy from my angry face went to my hands, went to my shoulders, went to my legs. And it's that extra 10% of energy that went to what needed to get done.
So Bruce Lee was a master at focused energy.
Yes.
And he could take very minimal effort and make a huge, profound impact. And same thing with you. You're talking about the energy going to your face as opposed to going to where it needs to go.
Mm-hmm.
And so, funny story, there was a rock, and I was breaking trees, right? I pushed over some trees, and some aspens, and they're 6 inches, whatever, 8 inches round. And I remember one time I looked at the rock, and right exactly where I wanted that branch or that tree to break, and I pushed on that, my side of that branch with the lightest of effort. I was like, I was shocked, and I saw the thing go pink. I was like, did I just witness that? Did I just witness that?
Sometimes you surprise yourself when really it's in your gut, what you have to do.
Yeah.
Or it's in your gut that you're like, I need to go left instead of right. I know I need to go left, but I'm going to go right instead. It's when I get asked, I was asked about hair color the other day from a friend of mine. And I was like, what about this? What about that? And she's like, no, I kind of want this. And I was like, why did you ask me? You already knew what you wanted to do. So it's that gut. Like, you already know. You have to just listen. Yeah, listen to what your body is telling you.
Yeah. Yeah. And we can have that, like Bruce Lee, we can have that master focused energy. We just have to practice it. He was a practitioner of that. So if we practice it, we can do the same thing.
Yes, 100%. It takes practice, like you just said it. You hit it. Practice, and consistency. Those go together. We have, if you're going to focus on something you want to attain, focus on it, but you have to practice. And it takes work. And it's just understanding and accepting that it's really, the consistency is up to you.
So I took a handwriting course last year sometime. And this morning, what did I do? I got home from the gym and I did my handwriting.
Oh, nice.
And I did my handwriting exercises. You got to do the work. I was talking to somebody over the weekend and he's like, man, what's wrong? I don't know what's going on. I told him, I'm like, dude, you're not doing the work. You got to do the work. You want to grow and elevate and become that person that you envision or think about. You got to do the work to get there. If you don't do the work, you'll never get there.
I have a friend who wants to do in her mind, she wants to do the work, but she wants to control the work that gets done. And sometimes you have to step outside of yourself to see a different perspective. Because the more she would try to control her outcome, the more it wasn't turning out the way she wanted it to. But it's because she, in her mind, she's visualizing the outcome already. Like, this is how I want it. This is how I want it, how I want it. And this is how I'm going to do it. This is how I'm going to do it. But she's not seeing the full picture. She's just like tunnel vision to the ending where there's, there's this step that needs to be put in, or this needs to be put in, or you need to talk to this person and this person. I think, when I'm going through my entrepreneurial journey right now, that's how I was in the beginning. I was just like tunnel vision, boom, I need to do this. But really what needed to be done was I needed to open up my perspective and allow this idea to come in, allow this, because it built my vision. But I also had to realize, okay, no, that's not going to work. Okay, this is going to work. Okay, not. And, you can't go at it alone. There's people around you that are going to be a resource.
The word that comes to mind is surrender.
That's a great word. That is a great word. I feel like I wrote something about that, but yes, surrender, and accept.
Right. Your friend, she's so dialed in, right? She's so dialed in a little, and just let it go and surrender, right? Yes. You don't plant the seed in the ground and then dig it up every day trying to look at it and control it and get it to become a tree. You really have to surrender to the natural process of planting a seed.
And to take it a step further, when it comes to gardening, I talk to my plants and they thrive. I have a hibiscus that I thought was dead, 100% dead. I was telling my husband, I'm like, just throw it out. And he's like, let's just put it outside when it gets warm and see what happens. And now it's bloomed so much. And so I go out there, I pluck the dead leaves out. I said, I'm so sorry. I thought you were dead. I thought you were dead. I thought you were dead. But look, you were doing so great. Look, you have another bloom here. And I don't know what the science is when it comes to plants, but when they say talk to your plants, you should talk to your plants. My garden is thriving all of a sudden because I'm like, what happened to you tomato plants? Why aren't you guys blooming? And then all of a sudden, boom, 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 mega tomatoes. So
it's the carbon dioxide.
Yeah. I will keep breathing onto my plants if I have to.
Yeah, that would be the scientific reason, but yes, talk to your plants because there is, they talk about, it's scientifically proven. You can look on YouTube about the video where they took water and they played harsh music to it and then froze it. And then they put soft music on it and then froze it. And you can see how the ice formed differently depending on the vibration that was put to the water.
I've also read that rice experiment. Somebody did that rice experiment where I think it was rice, and they took two different things of rice and they would talk angry to one thing of rice and then talk kindly to one thing of rice, and the rice turned black and this one didn't. I don't know if it was rice, but yeah, it was imagine what you're saying to yourself. Imagine what you're saying to your plants. Do you want to, have being kind just generates goodness for everybody, not just my plants or not just to myself, but it really, it contributes to the universe.
There's a
Maybe.
book that I read that says, life and death is in the power of the tongue. And so are you
Ooh,
speaking life or are you speaking death?
yes. And there's people who do that backhanded death conversation.
Snide.
I try, it's hard to, I want to help them, but sometimes they're like so far off that I'm just like, I'm here if you need me. I'm here if you need me. So
Yeah. Yeah. I grew up in somebody that with somebody that spoke a lot of death, right? And so,
mhm.
um, having come out of that and seeing what the power of speaking life and encouragement and empowering, there's such a, people are walking around like your hibiscus, looking like they're dead. And when all they really need is somebody to
Someone to
speak some
talk
life
to.
into them.
Yes, 100% agree. Like you just, and the power of a smile, the power of a hello to a stranger is, to me, very uplifting. I last summer I walked my dogs, and I could have been very upset because I had lost my job, and like walking my dogs around the pond, my neighborhood, and there was a lady. I'd see her every morning, and then just one day I just said, "Good morning." And ever since then, like we see each other, I know who her family is, I know what's going on. And she's, oh, my husband is this and that. And it just brings more humanity into my life by acknowledging a stranger. And I think that's very helpful, maybe to the stranger, who knows? But it's just, it lights up my world, and just another, it's like an expansion of the positivity that I could bring to somebody else.
I'll read this to you. The divine operation is always for expansion.
Like I told you, Titus, today was meant for me to talk to you. We are here. I mean, like, it's that humanity. Like, again, like, like I was struggling this morning, and talking to you is like a time, perfect time for me to expand it to, the next person I talk to.
Yeah. Yeah. Back to the pebble on top of the mountain, or the
Mhm.
pebble that's dropped in the lake, the ripple effect that goes out across the universe.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. So I be kind to your plants. Be kind to strangers.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. That's awesome. Well, that's a great place to come to a conclusion. I thank you so much for jumping on today. And what a conversation. We should do this more often.
Yes, I would love it. I would love it. Thank you for having me today. I appreciate it.
How can people find out more about you?
Oh, sure. I am pretty active on Instagram, so at Laarni Mulvey, and that's where I post my daily strength posts. I post some, just letting people inside of my life to get them to know me and my authentic self, because I don't just post stuff just to post stuff. I actually live and breathe the Strong and Mighty logo and my message of bringing empowerment, encouraging words to people. So they can find me on there. If they want to reach out to me, it's at Laarni Mulvey on Instagram, or they can go on laarnimulvey.com and connect with me through there, or read more about me through there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. We will talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.